Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland. Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
You were supposed to bring death to the flagships, not join them.
That's a pill with 2 screens and it's open and you gotta swallow it.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
Behind-the-scenes camera crap.
Here, tell us about courage, Phil. Tell us about courage.
I am Nadella.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host, Wes, and I'm here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
I'm reinventing myself as the Nintendo guy. So
As we speak, actually. He's
that's
literally
why
playing
I'm playing the Switch as we record.
He's reinventing himself. I mean, more news is good on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, come on. We wouldn't want to be in a world without Nintendo.
That's true. It's true. Even though apparently I'm already failing since there was like a Nintendo Direct event this week that I did not even know about. Whoops.
We'll touch on that a little bit later, but, you know, because there was a lot of news for gaming. I mean, Sony had their State of Play. Nintendo had a Direct. Xbox was in Tokyo. You know, a lot of things like that. So, but we'll get into our gaming section. We'll let that happen. But we'll allow Caleb here to continue gaming while we're talking about other things. How's that?
Perfect. I'm all set.
Are you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, all right. You know what? To start us off then, why don't we have Landon start us off with some Apple news?
See, this is why I'm reinventing myself.
Or whatever you want to talk about. Go
It's
ahead.
funny because
Take it away.
everything I have to talk about is Apple related. Oh, that's funny. Anyways, I wanted to talk first about my impressions with some of the new updates on devices that I own, one of which Caleb cannot give because he doesn't own it because I'm the Apple guy.
Yep.
Anyways, watchOS
Yes.
9. I wanted to mention some things that I didn't know about until I got the update. And they're kind of, I mean, they're not things I'm going to use a lot, but I'm happy they're there. So the Compass app was updated in watchOS 9. And it basically has all the same features as what's on the Watch Ultra when it comes to the Compass thing. So it's got like the fancier, like the watch or the Compass watch face, I guess you should say, is a little nicer. Obviously, because the screen's not as big, you can't have as many complications as what's on the Ultra, but that's fine. But when you're using the Compass app, the face that shows up is a lot nicer, a lot more a lot more detail, I should say. And also, you can make waypoints. So if you're going on a hike and whatnot, and you want to more easily get back to where you were going, say you're just going on a random hike, not on a trail or something, you take these waypoints. You can do that on Series 6 watches and newer. So the 6, 7, 8, and the Ultra have that capability. It's not just on the Ultra, which is what I had originally thought. So that's kind of nice. Now, again, the Ultra does have those 2 GPS radios built in, whereas the other watches just have the one. But you can still use these new functionality features on these other watches, which is kind of cool. And this updated Compass app is available on, I think, everything that's getting watchOS 9, but not all of the features are available on all of those watches. So keep them in mind. Like I said, the waypoints feature is on Series 6 watches and newer. So there's that.
All right.
Also, this is something I knew was happening, but notifications on the watch look a lot better, which is nice. It's just a very subtle change, but it's noticeable to me, and I like that. So, overall, watchOS 9 isn't vastly different. I mean, they did make it so all of the Nike watch faces are available to anybody. You don't have to buy a Nike Apple Watch to get those anymore. So those are available to everyone, which I just looked through a little bit. I haven't set any up yet. They're just there, but it's kind of nice. I haven't noticed any battery issues or changes since I got watchOS 9, so that's beneficial. Overall, it seems like a very incremental update, but those new compass features are going to be kind of handy if you use those type of things on a regular basis. I will use them every now and then, but not very often. I haven't used them yet. I'll say that. Okay.
Fair enough.
Now I have some impressions on something Caleb can give an opinion on. It's iOS 16.
Which actually, I have an opinion on that because I've been actually using it in the beta for, oh gosh, it's been a couple of months now.
I've been using it for about a month as well with the beta. So that's why I feel like I can give a decent, somewhat review on the iOS 16 because we've been using it for a while.
Yep.
Just some things that I noticed that are just in my regular use case of iOS 16. I really like the new lock screen customization stuff that you can do with that. It's really fun, really cool. Like that was probably the first thing that I did was customize my lock screen. So the one thing that I did and that I really like is, I changed the font of the text on it first, but you can also change the color. But what I didn't realize is that when you're going through the color options, you can choose a very specific color, basically, if you want. It'll give like the whole rainbow of colors there for you to choose from. But also on that page, it's got a color picker. So what I did is I picked a color from the wallpaper that I chose for my lock screen so it matches. And it is fantastic. I love that. The downside to doing that, though, I found, is with this new update, the album art is now, you can now have the option of having it large on the lock screen, which Caleb I know really likes, and I actually honestly like it as well.
Full on the reason I went to the beta. Like I was not going to do the beta. I was just like, whatever, I'll just get it when it comes out. And then I saw that they had added full screen album artwork back. That used to be a thing in early iOS.
Yeah.
And they took it out and they are adding that back. And I was like, holy crap, I'm downloading it. So yep. Love that.
You can have that not show up if you tap on the artwork. It just goes down to back to the notification that it was on iOS 15.
Yeah.
If you want it back, you tap on the artwork again and it pops up big again. So I kind of like that it goes back and forth, because if you do customize your lock screen, especially the color of the text on your lock screen, that doesn't change when you have album art. So like I've got red text on my lock screen, and if I'm listening to something that is not red or doesn't, it doesn't look good. It looks bad in my opinion. So I actually made it so it doesn't have the giant full screen album art anymore when I'm listening to something, because with the way I customized my lock screen, it doesn't look good. So I do like that they have the option to not have that.
Yeah.
I wish they would have done with the album play, like when you're playing music or playing a podcast or something, what Google did. So what Google has done is when you're playing something on the lock screen, it'll show the full album art and stuff like that, but it also changes the text and everything that's around it to match the artwork. Not just the background, like on iOS, when you make the artwork bigger, it changes your background to match that, which looks good. Mm-hmm. But if you have anything besides white text on there, it's not going to look very good, as I have experienced.
And that's why I have white text on mine.
Yeah. And I've been tempted to go back, but I'm like, nah, I can just not have the full screen album art. It's fine. I don't need it. It's not that big of a deal. I like my lock screen better. I like my lock screen better this way. So that's my preference. Caleb's is obviously the other way around, which is fine. That's the benefit to this new lock screen.
Exactly. The lovely thing is that there's loads of customization options, and you can have it either way. Like, hey, Apple giving us customization.
Yay.
Weird.
Steve Jobs is rolling in his grave right now.
Honestly, Steve Jobs oversaw the creation of Mac OS 10 in its earliest forms. And there's plenty of customization in there for stuff like that. It's no Windows 95, like, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't opposed to customization. I think the person who is really driving the whole like no customization on iOS, Johnny Ive.
That's fair. I can see that.
I bet it was Johnny.
I could see that. He probably still has an iPhone XR because he doesn't want anything to change after what he'd made.
Probably. Oh, I wonder what he does use. Oh, Google. Hold on, tell me.
What phone does Johnny Ive use? Anyways, while Caleb looks that up, I'm going to go on. Continuing on with the lock screen, because that's most of what I care about with this iOS update. The widgets, also known as watch complications that are on the lock screen, I initially set them up, but then after about an hour, I just took them away because to me they are useless because I can get the exact same things on my watch. And to me, that was pointless. So I don't use them. I don't really care about them. Maybe if other apps come out with better widgets to put on there, maybe I'll switch back and start using them. But as of now, I don't care about them. They do look good, but they're not beneficial for me, so I'm not going to take more space on my lock screen to use them. I haven't had the chance yet to use like the live, what did they call it? The little live like sports notifications and whatnot that come up on there. Caleb, what was that called? It wasn't live tiles because that's Windows.
Action, active,
Something like
actable,
that.
something.
Yeah,
I don't know. Action tiles or something.
Yeah.
It's a dumb name. Apple should have just called them interactive notifications or, something like that.
Oh, they have to have a name for everything. We found that out with the pill.
The pill.
We can't actually call it what it is because it's stupid.
It's the pill.
Yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to use that yet, but in videos I've seen, it does look good and function properly, so that's nice. The next thing that I really like that I had to mention is the ability to add haptic feedback on the keyboard. Something I didn't realize I missed as much as I do. I don't like having sound on with my keyboard. I immediately turned that off.
Yeah.
But I really like the haptic feedback. So whenever when you're typing and you push a key with the keyboard, you get a little bit of a vibration going on. And I like that. And I didn't fully realize that wasn't a thing on iOS until I started using it. Like, oh, that isn't as fun. And then I just got used to it. But now I've put it back on my phone and I'm like, oh, this is what I've been missing for the last year or 2 years, I guess I should say. But I'm glad that that's now an option as well. But those are the things that stood out to me on iOS 16. I do really like the update overall. It's been fine. Again, another incremental update. It's nothing major. What were your impressions,
I want
Caleb?
to say, I just, my biggest thing, in addition to all of that, the stuff we've already talked about, we have mentioned on the podcast in the past, the battery indicator, how they've changed that. iOS 16 allows you to put a percentage in the battery indicator again. Like, finally, you can show it by percentage again, which I have mentioned in the past makes so much more sense than just having a stupid little status bar, to the extent where I'm using a widget on my lock screen to tell me what my battery's percentage is, even though that's a widget that was obviously intended for people that have connected Apple Watches or connected AirPods or whatever. I use it just for the phone that I'm on because it gives me more real estate to look at the actual how long the bar is.
And you don't use any of those other products.
Right, exactly. I don't. But recent updates. So I thought that was cool. You may recall, listener, that when we mentioned this on the podcast a few weeks back, I was also kind of ticked because they were not bringing that feature to the iPhone minis or the iPhone 11 or XR, the ones that didn't have the OLED screens.
Yeah.
However, recently, just this past week, Apple released the first beta developer preview for iOS 16.1, which does, in fact, include the percentage option for the minis and the 11 and the XR. So, yes, I'm really excited for that to come. So, honestly, like the lock screen customization is super cool. I absolutely adore the return of full screen album artwork on the lock screen. But iOS 16 will not actually land for me until I can get the percentage indicator back in my battery status. And then everything will be complete. But I mean, you can tell, listener, by the things that we're talking about, this is a very iterative update to iOS. Good things, good quality of life improvements. But if, for instance, you're still rocking the original iPhone SE or an iPhone 6S or something like that, and you just really don't want to update, the thing still works for you, it's still running fine, you have no complaints, there's not a super compelling reason in iOS to update at this point. Honestly, you'll probably be okay to wait until the apps that you rely on stop supporting the version of iOS that you're stuck on. For now, at least. You know, maybe iOS 17 will change that, but 16 doesn't really. So there you go. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, that's pretty much everything I was going to talk about with iOS 16. I have not updated yet to the new macOS. Is that even available yet?
It is not out yet. They were going, like, rumors had it launching at about the same time as iOS 16, but Apple has said that there is a delay on it. And in addition to iPadOS, that's been delayed as well. Like, normally that would launch alongside iOS, but it has been delayed.
Well, they did say iPadOS was coming out later anyways. I think they're waiting until they announce a new iPad.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is that. The other part, I think, is Stage Manager. Like, they're going to launch that at the same time as they launch macOS because of Stage Manager, and I think they're holding back on both of those until possibly new iPads, but also possibly just they need to iron out the issues with Stage Manager still. They're, get all the bugs knocked out on those. So, we're still kind of in a holding pattern on those.
Yeah, I mean, the rumors are that there's going to be another event in October, probably with new iPads and hopefully a new Mac Mini with a M2 Pro. Because please, Apple, please, you will get more money from me if you do that.
I'm going to be honest. If they drop an M2, like even just a standard M2 Mac Mini, and discount the price of the M1 Mac Mini the same as they did with the MacBook Air, like to, I don't know, $500 ish, I will buy that M1 Mac Mini. Like,
that's fair.
That's a day one sale for me.
That would be a good purchase. I mean, I still want, I mean, an M1 or a base model M2 would still be better than what I have with the Intel, but for how I use it, if I could get a Pro version, the M2 Pro, that would be ideal for me.
Yep.
Just because of the audio stuff that I'm doing, it needs a little more power. It would be a little faster.
You can absolutely use the increased CPU. For me, I would actually benefit more from better GPU over the integrated Intel graphics I've got right now.
Right.
And either the M1 or the M2 is a significant step up in terms of the integrated graphics. So turns out Intel's integrated graphics kind of trash. Not sure if anyone knew this.
I would also benefit from that because some of the audio software I do use is not graphics heavy, but it's heavy enough that it's
GPU accelerated.
Yes.
So
I mean,
the more GPU you've got, the better. So even if it doesn't necessarily need it.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely tests this Intel processor quite a bit.
Yeah.
And this is definitely better than what I was using. I mean, it would take up to 40 minutes to do one process of my audio repair that I do on our audio. Whereas now, the longest it usually takes is about 10 minutes. And that's on rare occasions. And it also
that's a good savings of time.
It's a very significant savings. But if I were to get an M2 or an M1, even an M1 Pro, or just a Pro version, man, that would be probably get taken from like 10 minutes to 2, 1 seconds. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
But so But yeah, I haven't updated to the new Mac OS. What is it, Ventura? Is that what they're on now?
Something like that. I don't know. I stopped paying attention when they changed the names away from cats. Let's be honest. I liked the cats, the California names. I got no tie to California, so whatever.
That's true. I also probably won't update to Ventura once it is available because I'm going to wait a minute to make sure all my software that I use works. Because again, I'm using not just Apple software on my computer. I'm using stuff that is important and needs to be functional.
That is wise.
I mean, I completely skipped. What is it, Catalina? What are we on now? Monterey? Is that what
we're on Monterey, right? That's Monterey.
Yeah. I completely skipped Catalina and went to Monterey because certain software I used, I think it did eventually get Catalina support, but I just didn't do it. And then when I updated to Monterey, I actually had to buy new software to make that work, which I found out after I did that I probably could have gotten away with not doing that, but there were new features in the software that I wanted anyway, so it was kind of worth it. Anyways, that's my impressions of the new OSs available at the moment. Overall, like Caleb was saying, iterative, nothing major.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to update or upgrade, maybe you don't necessarily have. Well, okay, that's a lie. Do upgrade because there is some security features in this upgrade that you need to have. I think the last 15 update did have that, but if you haven't used that one yet, you may as well just go to 16 because you want some sort of 0-day update that you need to have.
Yeah, it's patching a series of exploits in Safari, as I recall. And the nice thing about that is where you have issues with Safari, if you're running older versions of iOS, if you're running the last version of iOS, you will still see incremental updates to address that stuff on your iPhone 6S's and whatnot for the next year. You'll still be getting a couple of security updates to make sure that you don't have any giant vulnerabilities. After which point you will be considered a small enough target audience that probably nobody's going to target you. So, if you want to just sit on an iPhone 6S for the rest of time, you might be able to. This might be okay. I guess what we need to talk to the folks that are still on the iPhone 5S. I know a few people that, not personally. I know of a few people who are still on an iPhone 5S as their daily driver because they just are sick of Apple's shenanigans, which is fair. So,
I'm also very impressed.
Yeah.
They're still using that phone. What you need to do, Caleb, is find these people. Tell them to buy the Mini while it is still available.
Seriously.
Because that's basically the same phone, just way nicer.
If everybody who was still rocking the original SE or an iPhone 5S had all bought the Minis, then they wouldn't have ditched the Minis, gone to the Plus, and jacked up the price of the starting price of the entire line, which I am not over, and I will never be over, listener. This is how we live now.
Well, they may have jacked up the price, but they wouldn't have had as good of an excuse to do so.
Right. It's still not a good excuse, but
no.
Yes, it would have been more transparent and more people would be pissed off about it. Though, To be fair, a lot of people are really pissed off about this. So
and
I don't know if...
What's great about that is I've heard so many people, like reviewers, just tech people in general, not recommending the 14. They're saying, go buy the 13. Go buy a used 13 Pro. Don't buy the 14. Unless you have to have that Plus model, don't buy it. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Everyone agrees.
And it's so true, too, because even if you have to have the Plus, even if you just have to have the bigger screen, for the same money, get yourself a used 13 Pro Max.
Yes.
Same size of screen, but the screen itself is significantly better. It gets brighter, it's more color accurate, and it's a high refresh rate screen, so it's going to feel way smoother to use. And the phone has the same processor, so it's not like it's not going to drive the screen any better, and it's going to last just as long. And the 14 is such a stupid device. It's
and the 13 Pro Max has better cameras too.
It does. It's got better cameras. It's just a better phone. And yeah, go buy, like, honestly, you could probably find like a new used stock kind of thing being sold at a big box store or something on sale for around $900, which is what the 14 Plus costs.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to buy a used phone that's like a year old, freaking, yeah, easy $900, if not less, for very possibly more storage. I got nothing. I have no clue why anybody in possession of their faculties would purchase a 14 Plus or a regular 14. But I understand that one a little bit more than the 14 Plus. That device just makes no sense to me. And yeah. I'm actually kind of jumping the gun on some of my news. Right, with this rant. I had a rant all queued up and Landon just accidentally kicked it off a little bit early there. It was on a hair trigger.
Anyways, before we get to the finished version of that rant, I do have one more thing I wanted to mention. And the way I want to say this is Tim Cook, and this happened before we talked last week, listener, but I didn't want to mention it yet because we were already heavily involved in Apple stuff as it was last week. Yeah. But Tim Cook has done his best Steve Jobs impression yet. That's the only reason, and the reason I say you'll understand the reason I say that, but I think the reason that he brought out his inner Steve was because of where he did this. So he did it at this code conference, I think is what it's called. And there was a panel with him, Johnny Ive, and Eileen. Is it Eileen Jobs?
Yeah.
Yeah. Steve Jobs' wife.
Yeah.
So, and there was all about Steve Jobs. They were interviewing, talking about him and his legacy and whatnot. So that's why I think he was channeling his inner Steve, because this whole thing was about Steve Jobs. So that's why Tim Cook did what he did. But what he said, so someone in the crowd, they were asking questions. They had people come up to a microphone, ask him whatever they wanted to. He brought up basically the battle between Google and Apple with RCS and stuff like that. And he was asking Steve if this was ever going to be a thing that they might do. And I just want to read what Tim, did I say Steve? What Tim said.
You did say Steve.
I mean, it's a very Steve Jobs reply.
This is a very iPhone for like post-launch moment for Tim.
Very much.
So, yeah.
So what Tim said is that I don't hear our users asking that we put a lot of energy into RCS. And that's fair. You know, he should have stopped there.
Probably true.
He should have stopped there. And then he also said after that, I would love to convert you to an iPhone, which the person that was asking the question held up his iPhone. He does have an iPhone. Yeah. But then he brought up, he's like, I'm going to put this on a personal matter. He says, for me, it's like if I want to send videos to my mom or my mom wants to send videos to me, it's going over SMS and it's just really bad quality. It's not a good experience for either of us. And then Tim's response to that was, buy your mom an iPhone. And then he just laughs. I'm like, wow.
Yep.
Wow.
You're
Tim.
holding it wrong.
I mean, I get why he says this, because he's Apple's CEO. His whole goal is to make Apple money. That's his job. And so I understand that. But to flat out just say that, buy your mom an iPhone. Wow. Good one,
Said the quiet part out loud, Tim.
Good one, Tim. You should have shut up when you were still somewhat ahead. This didn't help you at all.
It was one of those, like, you know, the meme moments of, well, it's a banana. What can it cost? $10? Like,
yeah, basically.
Just say, Tim, I'm not sure if you're aware, your phones cost substantially more than most other phones.
Yeah.
Just for the record. No, it was good. It was a little tone deaf, but I don't know what else you expect from Tim Cook. And it, like I said, it smacks very much of Steve Jobs coming back off of vacation, ticked off because people are having issues with their calls dropping with the iPhone 4. And he's just annoyed because he's like, look, just hold it different, you idiots, you plebs. Like, what do you don't have any valid criticisms. Our product is perfect. Obviously, that's not exactly what Steve meant when he said you're holding it wrong, but
that's how it
that
came
is
across.
Definitely how it came across.
Yeah.
So, and that's very much how this is, this is Tim speaking from the position of the CEO of Apple Incorporated. And like Landon said, his job is literally to make Apple money, and making the statement, I don't hear a lot of our users clamoring for this feature. That's probably accurate. And that is the only information that he has that he needs to act on. What do my users want? What do my customers want? What is going to make them happy that will make us money? That's all he's acting on. And it may kind of suck. And listener, if this sounds like it's stupid to you, let me welcome you to the world of capitalism. This is how it works. Welcome. So yeah, like, I don't necessarily think he's said anything wrong per se, but geez, if you wanted to come across as an automaton, Tim, you could not have done a better job than that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is, it was funny. It made me laugh. It made me laugh really quite hard.
Yes, I agree with that. I heard it. I'm like, wow, good one, Tim. That's amazing. So, I mean, if you had any sort of hope that Apple might down the road implement RCS, this just shot that right in the face, because nope, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Nope.
Unless some government agency out there makes them do it, which this isn't going to help his argument against that either. So that could happen, but even then it's I don't know.
Honestly, I will bet you money that, because we've talked about the European Union is doing their thing where they're making everybody put USB-C ports on their stuff, and how Apple's likely way around this, that at least they may not be able to do it, but they have certainly entertained the concept of doing it, is to remove the port from the phone altogether.
Right.
And because the European Union's legislation is written in a way that allows that, right? They can't write their legislation to specifically say USB-C without hampering innovation. Like, it's literally illegal for them to write legislation like that. And so if somebody comes up with a port that is significantly better than USB-C, they need to leave themselves room to make everybody adopt that port instead of USB-C. So this is how legislation gets written. You can pretty much guarantee that at some point in time, somebody is going to manage to get a piece of legislation passed that says that if you have a mobile phone platform, you have to support a certain level of quality in the text and message intercommunication with other mobile phone platforms. It'll be worded something like that, and then it'll have suggested course of action, probably list RCS right there. And you know what'll happen? Apple will release iMessage on Android. That's what'll happen. They're not going to adopt RCS, because that's just this is the hill, one of many hills they will die on. And they're honestly just looking for, they just love hills. They're looking for hills to die on constantly. We are Apple. We will die on every hill, and nobody is going to tell them what to do. So
pretty much.
Yep. That's what it's like being an Apple customer, if you ever wanted to stare into the abyss.
Yeah. Very true. But that is all of the things that I wanted to talk about this week.
Nice. Very good. Well, I guess we can move on to our Nintendo guy.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, you join us now. Rant in progress. So, the iPhone 14 Plus. Oh my gosh, listener, have I got a juicy one for you today. Ming-Chi Kuo. We have talked about him on this podcast since the beginning of this podcast. He is probably the most famous, and I would not even hesitate to say the most accurate analyst in terms of predicting Apple's future product plans with a high degree of accuracy. Okay? This dude knows his stuff and has got a really tight handle on Apple's supply chain to an extent where he can predict exactly what features phones are going to have years before they have him. If Ming-Chi Kuo is ever wrong, it's because he was predicting something too far ahead. He was like, oh, they're definitely working to put this technology into this year's iPhones, and it comes out in the year after that. The satellite communication thing is actually a perfect example of that, because he did predict last year that was going to be in the iPhone 13. He thought that was going to happen. Apparently, Apple was prototyping it in the iPhone 13, but they couldn't get it to work reliably, and so they didn't ship it, and so it's in the 14 instead. So, Ming-Chi Kuo, when he speaks regarding Apple, everybody listens. He released this past week an analysis of Apple's pre-order period for their phones, which have now launched, right? Pre-orders were in progress up until the very end of this past week, and now you can go to an Apple store and you can buy some of them, right? Some of these phones are quite popular, were pre-ordered like on back order for several weeks before the end of the first day, and even the base model iPhone 14, if you want to go buy that in an Apple store or on apple.com, some of those models are not actually going to be available because they were popular enough that Apple sold through their existing inventory. You can probably still find them at carrier stores and stuff like that if you really want them. But Ming-Chi Kuo made this statement in his analysis. Apple's product strategy for iPhone 14 has failed. And what he was specifically referring to was the iPhone 14 Plus, canceling the Mini and adding the Plus. Because, as of right now, as of launch day, you could walk into any Apple store in the world. You could sign into apple.com in any region and buy every single model of the iPhone 14 Plus and have it at your doorstep the next day.
Wrong.
No back order.
It doesn't even come out for another 2 weeks.
Right.
And I think that, honestly, part of the reason I think is that because people might be waiting to be if they want the 14 Plus. Also, the majority of the people that pre-order, I mean, obviously the 14 is people are going to be buying, but the majority of people that pre-order usually, and it's happened with the 13 mini as well, the pre-orders weren't great for that phone either. So saying that the Plus is doomed because the pre-orders are bad, the mini was bad as well.
So
but
I'm just going to go ahead and stop you right there, Landon.
Majority of pre-orders, let me finish. Let me finish. The majority of people that pre-order buy Pro models in general.
Yes, but the iPhone 14, the cheaper one with the less good screen, right? The bad screen.
Right.
We've talked about this.
Yes.
Also, the one that's also being made at much higher volumes because it's cheaper.
Right.
And because it's the generic most popular iPhone, some models of that are selling through.
Right.
They're running back orders on some models of the iPhone 14, but none on the Plus. The Plus, and here's the key. Ming-Chi Kuo obviously has a history of tracking this information for years.
Right.
He knows what the pre-order sell-through rate for the 13 mini was. And this 14 Plus is worse.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's in his analysis. It is selling worse than
the
13 mini did, a phone that famously sold so poorly that Apple was cutting production orders for that by the end of October. Which means that we may very well see production cut in the iPhone 14 Plus by the end of October. Now, there's a couple of different reasons that I think that this is probably happening. And honestly, I think the biggest reason it's happening is because Apple, in their infinite wisdom, decided to jack up the starting price of the entire line. So because this rant always comes around to the $800 starting price of the iPhone right now. That's where this lands. If they had started the iPhone 14 at $700 and the iPhone Plus at $800, probably they wouldn't be having these issues. That's my suspicion. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, but that's my guess. I think that it's the $900 starting price for this thing is too close to the $1,100 starting price of the Pro Max. And people are looking at that and they're like, I get last year's processor. I don't get the fancy screen. I don't get anything like the fancy cameras. What do I get with this phone? I just get a larger screen. I'll just pay $100 less and get the regular one, or $200 more and get the Pro Max, which if you can afford the extra $200 to get the Pro Max, I think that's a great idea. If you can't afford the extra $200 to get the Pro Max, I would still not say, like, don't buy the 14. Like we said earlier, go buy a 13 Pro Max. And you get the bigger screen and a whole bunch of other stuff that is better than the iPhone 14. So anyways, it's Ming-Chi Kuo just kind of had this analysis, and I'm not saying anything that I didn't say last week, if we're honest, because like I said, this rant just keeps circling around to the idea that Apple jacked up the starting price of the iPhone for absolutely no reason, and it was a terrible idea as far as I'm concerned. This is a data point that seems to support that conclusion.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm not saying it's going to sell better than the Mini, because I don't think that it necessarily will. It might match it. That's what I'm going to say. But, and I agree that the price is probably a heavy option or, thing for that. But again, also, I think the majority of the people that buy these models of phones buy them when they need it, not necessarily as a pre-order. So sales are going to go up for both of these lower models of phones as it goes down the road, especially near the holiday season. And also the people that buy these models of phones don't necessarily care they don't care what processor's in the phone. They're like, oh, it's an iPhone, I'm going to buy that one. And so again, I do think the price is going to be a major factor. I agree with you on there. And I do understand that, yes, it's not pre-ordering as well as the Mini was. But again, it comes out 2 weeks after the fact, so people may be waiting on that, which I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying could be an issue. So we have to wait, and Apple's never going to give us numbers because they never do, but we have to wait till we get numbers from other sources, because other sources are more reliable and actually give us numbers, whereas Ming-Chi Kuo doesn't give us numbers. He just says, okay, this is what I'm seeing is happening.
But, here's the thing.
And I'm not as big on the bandwagon of Ming-Chi Kuo as you are. I mean, yes, he is very accurate, but he's not God to me. And when it comes to Apple leaks,
he has numbers. He doesn't give them to us because it's his job, right? Like, his job is to analyze the numbers, and if he starts giving us the numbers, then people can start doing their own analysis, and then he doesn't have a job anymore. So, like, he's obviously motivated by his own interests to not disclose that information. But in terms of, like, being accurate in his analysis, if he weren't, then he would also not have a job. So, because Ming-Chi Kuo isn't a leaker. That's a line I would like to draw. We talk about the like Evan Blasses of the world and the Mark Gurmans of the world and stuff like that. These are essentially press, right? These are journalists who have connections inside of corporations, inside of organizations and stuff like that are able to get them heads up information on stuff. Ming-Chi Kuo doesn't have that, so far as I'm aware. Ming-Chi Kuo is just in contact with all of the business and, like, public records of all of these various organizations, particularly involved in the supply chains of various electronics manufacturing processes and stuff like that. And so because he has that data, he's able to compile his information from that and produce these analyses. And so, so he's introduced frequently as an analyst, not a leaker. Right? He's not going based off of information that's reported to him from some contact that he has. He's going based off of information that he gets out of these companies via, from what I'm aware, mostly public record. And so, yes, Apple's not ever going to give us any numbers. Ming-Chi Kuo is also not ever going to give us any numbers. No analyst is ever going to give up the numbers that they have, because that's probably a trade secret. I don't know. I'm not an analyst. But it's an important part of them being able to do their job. And if they have a better way to get more accurate numbers than other analysts, then that's a competitive advantage, and they probably don't want to give that up. Right. But, so just the fact that he does have numbers, he's got some kind of information, and I assume that what he's comparing to is this period in the pre-order cycle for the iPhone 13 versus, the iPhone 14. And so, take that for what it's worth. Also, this analysis itself came out before, like, actual phone launches happened and stuff like that. This is last Wednesday, I want to say. So we're recording on the 18th, listener. So it's a Sunday. This was last Wednesday to us. So the information is obviously a little bit more out of date for you as well. But, as this information updates, I'll obviously keep people posted, on the following weeks, because like I said, this is a rant in progress. It's going to be a rant in progress for the next year. Honestly, if they don't blow me away with the iPhone SE launch this next spring, then man, I am going to just I'm riding this train for quite a while. But yeah, I think, like, honestly, the most interesting thing to come out of this to me is that it seems like Apple's pricing strategy, more than anything else around these phones, very possibly has bitten them in the butt.
Right.
Because if they sell less of the Plus than they did of the Mini, then that's gonna be a problem, because the Mini was selling so poorly that everybody knew they were going to discontinue the Mini before the 13 launched, right? Because the 12 Mini had sold so poorly. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, they're going to launch the 13 Mini because they already had it in development, but there's no way we're going to see a 14 Mini. And that turned out to be true. Apple just did not like the sales numbers of the Mini phones. And I think that Apple took the wrong message away from that experience. They heard, oh, people want bigger screens. Okay, we should launch the Plus then. And it's like, not exactly. People want to feel like they're getting a lot for their money. They want to feel like they're getting a good deal when they buy a product, especially when they buy an expensive product. Consumers anyways, general consumers want to feel like, oh yeah, I'm getting a lot of stuff for my money when they're paying a lot of money, especially. So the fact that you raised the price in addition to adding the larger screen is where this issue is coming from. I think if they would have added the Plus and then kept the pricing structure where it was, so that the 14 starts at $700 and the Plus starts at $800, honestly, the Plus would probably be their top selling model. Like, I think that there's a very real chance that that's the outcome they would have seen. But that is not what happened, and I think that pricing decision is going to cause problems. And I don't know. We'll see if they change their mind next year, because based on the way that iPhone production and design and development tends to happen, I suspect we're probably going to see a 15 Plus as well. Probably. They've probably already designed the thing. Like, they most likely have prototypes. Hopefully it has an A17. Apple.
No, it won't.
But this is a lot of bad precedents being set this year, and I am not pleased. Anyways, so that's the update on the analysis of the pre-order cycle for the iPhone 14, and mostly it just seems to confirm the idea that Apple's pricing of the iPhone 14 was a terrible idea. And yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So some other stuff that has come out over the past week regarding stuff that we obviously talked at length about last week. The Series 8 SoC, called the S8, so the Watch Series 8. We mentioned that this was a new system on chip for the Series 8. However, a little bit more detail now that people have had their hands on the thing and they've been able to dig into watchOS. Turns out that this thing is actually using the same CPU as the Series 7 and the Series 6. Now, the system on chip in Apple Watches also includes stuff like the sensor packages, the RAM, the storage, and so on and so forth. So pieces of that package have been updated, in particular the sensors. They talked at length about the temperature sensing and stuff like that. Some of those updates are included in the S8 SoC, but even still, like we said last week, there aren't a ton of reasons to update to the Series 8 if you're already on the Series 7 or even the Series 6. So it turns out there's even less reasons than we thought. Yeah. You're not actually getting a new CPU. It's the same as it's been. So there you go. Okay. And this last piece of news actually is good news. And I really like this. So Apple announced this past week that they're releasing an API for third-party apps to use the pill on the 14 Pro phones. Now, that was kind of just like, oh yeah, you'll be able to use it to integrate your stuff into the cool shifting functionality and whatnot that we have for the pill. And the developers are all like, or, hear me out. You play Pong with the top of your phone. And that's what has happened. There are already games for it. In fact, that have already released. With like iOS 16 dropped, and literally like days later, these games are on the App Store. So Hit the Pill, for instance, is basically Pong crossed with Breakout. You control a little slider at the bottom of the phone that bounces a ball up towards the pill, and if you hit the pill, then it bounces off, and you get to try and return it. So basically, you get points for every time you hit the pill, and you're trying to, obviously not let the ball get past you, and the goal is to obviously score as many points as you can. It's a pretty simple game, nothing crazy, but it just cracks me up that, like, literally this concept dropped within hours. Like, it was on Twitter, a working concept for this thing within hours of that API going live. So that's pretty cool. Another one that I wanted to mention that I thought was really funny, the Apollo Reader for Reddit. So this is a Reddit app that you use to browse Reddit, but is not the Reddit app. So, it's got some improvements and quality of life stuff to it. That adds a tiny little Tamagotchi style animal that lives up on top of the pill and just kind of walks back and forth and like does cute little animal stuff up there. Which I think is hilarious. The app is free. I don't use Reddit. I do not read Reddit. I don't post to Reddit. I do not exist on Reddit. However, I'm seriously tempted to download this app because it also will let your animals live in a widget on the lock screen in iOS 16. So like I can do that. Like I could use that piece. I can't do anything with the pill, but that could be fun. Have a little cat on your lock screen. Anyways, so yeah, it's a cool API. It's nice that Apple launched a full-fledged API for developers literally the same year as they launched this new feature. That doesn't happen all the time. Usually we see Apple launch the feature, it's exclusive to their stuff for a year, and then the next year we see it in the next version of iOS. But they were moving ahead and being proactive with this one, so that's very nice. Thank you, Apple.
Even without the API, this wasn't exclusive to Apple, because if any app that was using the Now Playing API, like Spotify, Pocket Cast, most podcasting apps, were already utilizing this feat. Like it was just built in; it would just work.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not to the extent that they could add on to it, but in the same way that Apple Music or Apple Podcasts or those type of apps, it would basically look the same, but with Spotify, Pandora, or whatever.
Yes. Yeah, they did integrate so basically the APIs that were controlling the notifications that would pop in from the top of the screen and stuff like that, the pill is replacing. Basically all of those APIs were rolled into the functionality of the pill.
Yeah.
So anything that was using those APIs is still, it's still using those APIs, and Apple made it so that it would work. But it's cool that they gave like a full-on API for just the pill, and you can do whatever the crap you want with it. And it's stuff like this, like the very early days of these new APIs, where you see the most useless but sometimes the most novel and interesting versions of how to use them. Like in the future, we're going to see stuff where like, oh yeah, you got this thing where it's like, I don't know, you can do this kind of generic stuff that you could kind of already do with Apple's version of it or Apple's implementation. It's basically the same thing, but for our app now, yay. And that's nice functionality. It's nice that it exists, but it's not a little cat walking around on top of this thing while you're reading Reddit. And I'm sorry, that's just better. So there you go.
There are two things that I want to see come out of this. And both of these I'm very positive will happen. First one is something that has been around on Android phones that have a hole punch ever since the hole punch has been a thing. But apps have come out with basically a battery indicator that goes around the hole punch to show where your battery's at. And they could do that with the pill. They just put a little battery indicator that goes around the cutout, and it would be great. That would be cool. Also, the other one that is inevitable because it's going to happen, Doom on the pill. It's only a matter of even weeks that this is going to happen. I'm honestly surprised it hasn't happened yet, because that's just the Doom modders community. They're going to put this on the pill, and it's going to be fantastic.
Should be epic.
Yeah, I think that probably the only reason that we haven't seen that is because like you're not going to be able to get that into an actual app. But I can pretty much guarantee somebody's going to demo it. They're going to get it running. They're going to demo it. They're going to be like, there's no way I can put this on the App Store.
Yeah.
But it does work.
I imagine it's going to be one of those things. If it does come to the App Store, it's not playable version of Doom. It's a viewable version of somebody playing, like, for lack of a better word, a stream. It's not a stream. It's going to be a video of somebody playing Doom on this. So whoever makes it on their phone work is going to record that, upload that as an app, and then you just watch it up there, which is still great.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so, like, how do you implement that? Is it like the pill expands the way that it can, and that's where you're playing, or is it just the tiny sliver of screen in between the camera and the other sensors, and that's your viewfinder for Doom?
Oh,
That would be hilarious.
Both.
And
It'll
honestly,
be
that's probably way more pixels. In fact, I'm sure that's way more pixels than that Lego brick that the dude had Doom running on from like a month ago or a couple months back.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I hope that both of those happen, honestly.
Oh man, good times. So there you go. That's all of my Apple stuff. Like, one giant rant, one piece of information for you Apple Watch owners, and one actually good thing that came out of Apple this past week.
Yep. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Well, Microsoft, they're still in battle trying to get to acquire Activision, Blizzard King, and there's stuff that's happening. I don't know. I really don't want to talk about it. I do apologize, listener. It's just companies that have billions of dollars trying to play victim and trying to be mean and this, and it's just, I don't want to get into it. I don't think Caleb does, and neither does Landon.
Like, think of it this way, listener. Stuff is happening, but it's nothing that would make you, it's nothing that is going to inform you, really.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make you feel good about, like, life or the universe or anything. So
really,
you don't need this. You don't need that in your life. That's fine.
Yep. So we'll move on. We're actually gonna move on and get into some gaming news. I'm gonna talk about that because holy crap. This past week, Tokyo Game Show, Nintendo had a direct, PlayStation had their State of Play, Xbox was at the Tokyo Game Show. They also had an ID at Xbox 90-minute thing. So there's a lot of things to talk about. But the first thing we'll talk about is actually the Discord voice chat is now available on Xbox consoles. I actually went through before the show and wanted to try this out and see how well it worked. Once you know what you're looking for, it's pretty easy, but
you got to find that first.
So basically, the way that it is, you have to download Discord on your mobile device, as well as the Xbox app on your device. You have to link your Discord and Xbox accounts on both ends. I know, both ends. You can't just link it once, and you have to do it on both ends. And then on the Discord app, you have to join whatever channel, or your server first, and then whatever channel. And then from your phone, there's an option while you're in the channel to send to console. And then whatever console you have set up in the Xbox app will be able to receive the channel. And it was pretty quick once it moved over and everything, and it sounded just fine on my end. I actually had these two Yoo-hoos actually listen, and it was okay. It wasn't anything great. It was
working. It was functional.
Honestly, it sounded like as if if we were connected the way we are now and you were using the same microphone you were for that, I don't think it sounded any worse than it would have in that scenario. So if you were to somehow be able to hook your good microphone up to this system, it would probably work fine.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just because of the microphone that was you were using, it didn't sound as good. But that's just based on the mic that you had. I don't think that had anything to do with the way it was connected. I think it connected just fine.
Yep.
Right.
Listener, I have heard Wes's headset mic, and it sounded like Wes's headset mic.
Yeah, it's a headset mic. I mean, that's what it is. Things on the Xbox, you'll notice it puts you right into the party chat. It uses the same type of, if you have any UI on there, so like when someone's speaking, it'll pop up and show who's speaking. What's cool is it'll actually show, like for example, who's in the chat. It'll show their stuff. So like if it won't show it'll show their Discord stuff, so you can know who's on there and whatnot. You can actually turn each individual person up on the Xbox. You can mute individual people and message. So you do have those options on the Xbox while in Discord. Now, when you quit, say you disconnect with the Xbox, then you'll actually have to do all that over again. So once you have everything linked, all you have to do is go back to your mobile device, say join channel, and then you'll just have to send that channel that you're in to the Xbox. So there is no like remember you were in that channel or anything or reconnect. It's just done. And then so that's kind of how they're using it. It's okay. Hopefully maybe something like this will come to Nintendo. I don't know. To give them something. I don't know.
Honestly, I think if they actually want people to utilize this, they're going to need to change the way you actually connect. Especially, I understand to an extent doing it this way the first time maybe, but the fact that you can't just reconnect straight from the Xbox, you have to go through your phone every time. That's going to make people not want to use this. I mean, it's not. There's going to be people that still use it, obviously, because it's Discord. It's a very popular thing, but it's going to make people very frustrated and want to not use it because it's too time consuming and too much of a hassle to use every time you want to do it. In my opinion.
Okay, so for me, I've already got pretty much my PC is my Discord thing, so I've already got it set up. I can use all the features. That's what I use. But someone that just wants to connect, say, like I think of like my kids, if they wanted to talk to their uncles or something while playing Minecraft on something like that, I could set it up to where they could do that. And so what they could do is if they're playing on their profile or I can link something or something, I could see that a little bit. But I also think this might be another way that if the Activision Blizzard does come through, this could be a way that even connecting to the BattleNet chat on the Xbox in a way. I think this is just a quick way to kind of let's test this out and let's innovate. And so I feel like this is kind of a one step to bring more to the console, if that makes sense. It's okay, but I don't think it's finished.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It feels like a beta feature. Like, it's nice that it's there, but I hope that it changes its format as time goes on. I think that, honestly, this is probably Xbox seeing the writing on the wall in regards to the push into cross-platform gaming that they've been making over the past few years, in that, like, large multiplayer games that have their own dedicated servers and their own dedicated teams of developers and stuff like that handle voice chat in game across platforms and whatever. That's how they operate. However, Xbox is in the position of taking every single game that they develop and pushing it cross-platform, even if it's just between the Xbox and the PC. And the way that they've tried to address that in the past was with Xbox Chat. And it's not great. Okay, look, we've done it. We've done it, Wes. I see the look on your face. We've done it.
No. Yeah, we've done it.
Was not a super smooth experience, was not very consistent, and was not great. So if this, yes, it's kind of, it's a roundabout way of getting into Discord, getting Discord connected. But I think it's probably going to be a lot more consistent and in actually working than the old Xbox Chat was, even if you're just going between an Xbox and a PC. It has the added advantage of any other titles that they happen to have that are multiplayer cross-platform, but the developers are not able to support cross-platform voice chat for whatever reason. They just don't have the resources to support it, or, whatever. Xbox now has the ability to just that's okay. We have cross-platform voice chat with this integration with Discord. So you don't have to have cross-platform voice chat in the games. You just have it in the system. And so
because most people like you were saying, a server. Most people are playing on a server. Let's be honest. I have our server with like my brothers and stuff. Like anytime I get on to play, even on the Xbox, I always look, is anyone on? Oh, cool. I can just hop in and just talk while I'm playing. So I think it's the same idea. Like
it really is. It's just I don't know. Like, it addresses kind of a gap that was going to show up. I don't think it's been a huge problem to this point, but what I think Xbox is trying to do here is they're just trying to be proactive about addressing a gap that was probably going to show up at some point in time as we push further and further down this road of cross-platform everything, which obviously the name of the podcast and everything, we like cross-platform here. folks.
Yes, we do.
We're real big into cross-platform everything. And so I'm not going to complain about this. We're still early teething days for cross-platform gaming.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been a couple of years, but we're still making yearly strides and improvements towards getting this stuff better. And I feel like this is a step in the right direction. Again, it feels like Discord may have kind of cribbed their notes a little bit from Nintendo's Splatoon, chat, which that's bad. Don't do that. Nintendo's multiplayer chat is awful, but it exists now, and we can improve it from here. Like,
yep.
Sometimes you just have to get it to happen, and then you can make it better later.
That's kind of what I feel too. Like I said, I'm glad it's there. I don't see myself using it just because of my setup. Like, I'll be fine. But if I didn't have the PC next to me while I'm playing on my console,
right?
Then yeah, I would just download it. Boom. Okay, I'm in. Let's talk.
Yeah, it's basically for you folks that are really sick of trying to connect to, basically trying to hear your game over headphones at the same time as being connected to Discord on your phone so that you can actually chat with your friends while you're playing the game. If that's been driving you crazy, here's your solution.
Yep. No, you're right. There's people that do that. So, overall, I think this is good. It's good. It's a good step. So, okay. So, there's so much stuff to talk about. So, Nintendo had their Direct, and there is so much stuff that they had. But I'm going to only kind of nitpick on the certain things that that obviously would be more towards Caleb and I. Because there was a lot of games that came out for the Switch, or that are coming out, or things that they're talking about. Obviously, a big one, Nintendo's Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 sequel came out. I can't remember the sequel's name. I should have had that. Good podcasting right here. But it was like Fallen Kingdom or something like that.
It was something like that. Oh my gosh. I literally just read the title like 2 hours ago.
I had it too.
The heck.
But so people that are into that Zelda game are going to really enjoy this. The one that I kind of wanted to talk about that's actually kind of a
Tears of the Kingdom. It was Tears of the
Kingdom. Yes. When I wanted to talk about that, Nintendo actually was in their Direct. They talked about the legendary GoldenEye 007.
Yeah.
The game is coming to the Nintendo Switch, and as well as Xbox. But there are key differences. So let's talk about the GoldenEye 007 on the Nintendo Switch. So the way that they are getting this into on the Switch is actually the main ROM game. They're going to put it in they've got the online game, or the online service that gives you the packs for, say, hey, here's all of our library for the NES. Here's all of our library for the Super NES. They even have the Sega Genesis library, but they've also released a Nintendo 64 library. This is going to be in the Nintendo 64 library, and that will be a part of the service. Now, I was trying to do some research to be like, can you buy this outright? But right now I haven't found anything, but that's how you're going to get this. So you have to have the service, right, the online service, to be able to, because then you can get into this. And so, what's cool about this is it has everything you want. It has all the missions, has the split screen multiplayer, but it also can be online multiplayer.
Yeah.
The way that they're doing the online multiplayer is just like how they would do online multiplayer with, say, their regular NES games for Player 1 and Player 2. So basically, you start up Super Mario, and I invite Caleb. I'm like, hey, let's play the regular Super Mario. I'm going to be Player 1. Then when he comes into my game that I'm hosting, he would just be Player 2. So then whatever, I play Mario, he plays Luigi, and then that's how he just basically has the control of second player controller. So the way this is working is, you can have up to 4 people, because the Nintendo 64 had 4 controllers. Each player that comes in is controller 1, controller 2, 3, and 4. And that's how they're going to basically call it the online. And to my knowledge, you'll actually see the split screen on everyone's screen.
Oh, good. So you can still screen snipe.
So you can still see. Yep.
That's amazing.
So So that's how that they're going to be doing that. That's kind of what I was researching and seeing. That's what I saw. So there wasn't any kind of like, we're going to blot out this or this or this or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to do that online multiplayer with GoldenEye. Just right there, the actual ROM, no update. It's just,
I gotta say, I'm really excited to like hear kids finally understand the statement. Okay, let's, just start a game of slappers, no odd job, and they'll understand. They'll get it.
Yep. Slappers or just rocket launchers or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought I had read somewhere that it was going to be the remastered version that came out in like 2010 or something like that. Obviously I'm wrong, but I thought that's what I'd read somewhere.
So I'll continue. That's the version that's going to be on the Switch. The version on the Xbox that's going to be on the Xbox that's coming to, the way that you can get this is, one, you can buy it. Two, if you've already bought what was called Rare Replay, you get this because it's all of Rare's old games and everything that you bought, which they're just going to add it to that. So you have that, or it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. This one, it says that the Xbox team, they have confirmed that it's a remaster that will support up to 4K resolution, smoother frame rate, and achievements on the console. You do get the split screen multiplayer mode, but there won't be any online support because you can't. Well, I mean, if you wanted to do what Nintendo does, in a sense, you can do that on the Xbox where you can basically turn your controller on and just say, hey, I'm going to give this person control of my controller wherever they are. So that's happened. They have the option to do that. So you can kind of do that, but
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I've seen how that's going to happen. So it's not when I was looking, there was like an actual like Xbox 360 whole master everything. I don't think that's what this is. They said this is just taking what the ROM was and upgrade, just being able to do the 4K, being able to do that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So,
I mean, I am still very tempted to go and buy a Switch just for this.
I will tell you what, if you buy a Switch, I will add both you and Caleb to my family plan. And we will totally figure out how to get a video of this and put it up on the channel. How's that? If you do that, I will add you to the family plan.
Oh, gosh dang. I'm going to need to get like a video capture set up for a Switch.
We should just start a GoFundMe. Buy land and a Switch. Or better yet, join our Patreon. That'll contribute to buying me a Switch.
Yeah,
there you go.
We'll go reset all of the goals now. It's just we need Landon to get a Switch so we can play 007.
That's the only goal in Patreon now is to buy me a Switch. It will revert back once that happens.
So anyway, that's the whole GoldenEye thing. I know a lot of people were upset because they were like, "Oh, it's not getting online multiplayer to the Xbox." I know there were some things that were like, why would this happen? But
local multiplayer is what that game was made for, and honestly, online multiplayer sounds like kind of a nightmare because if you can't turn to player 3 and punch them in the face because they selected odd job, what's the point?
What's the point?
I'm sorry, you can't do slappers no odd job if you don't have the ability to enforce no odd job.
True. Also in Nintendo's Direct, they also announced something that I'm interested in. They have announced that the Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is coming out. This is actually a remaster of a game that was on the PlayStation. I can't remember if it's the PSP or the Vita. It was one of their handhelds,
but it was the Vita. Trying to remember.
Yeah, so they're releasing this, but what's cool is they're actually releasing it on the Nintendo, the Xbox, and the PlayStation. So that's a good thing because I actually want to play it.
Let's just go ahead and say it's a game that was designed for a handheld. It's probably going to play best on the Switch.
Yeah, right.
Or feel most natural on the Switch.
True. So that was another one that I wanted to talk about. Let's go ahead and we're going to move on from Nintendo. If you want to check out more of the Nintendo stuff, they have a lot. Like I said, the new Zelda. If you want to check out video of that, see the GoldenEye, anything else, check out the Nintendo Direct. It was actually pretty decent. The Sony's PlayStation State of Play. They did have some big hitters. Big one was the started off was the Tekken 9 now. So, yeah, that game is still going.
It's a lot of Tekkens, man.
It's a lot of Tekken. So, which is, I used to play it back in the day, so I still kind of have an old school, like, oh yeah, I remember Tekken. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have to remind myself that, like, Tekken, every time they release a new game, it's like a numbered entry in the franchise. It's like, oh man, we're only on Street Fighter 6. Why aren't we? Well, okay, yeah, technically, but there have been so many, like, other Street Fighter games that weren't a quote-unquote numbered Street Fighter game.
Yeah.
That
like Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter 2
right,
Turbo.
Yeah. Like, there's definitely more Street Fighter games than there are Tekken games. It just doesn't sound like it.
Yeah.
See, and as a non-gamer, this is how I feel about Final Fantasy. There's like 500 at this point.
Fair enough. The dumbest name ever. Clearly don't understand what final means.
There is no final. Oh, okay. They also had obviously God of War trailer that was going on there. So people that really wanted to see that, it is beautiful. Take a look at it. It's pretty dope. They had a lot of other things on there, but those are the two that I wanted to mention that I kind of was like, yep, those are good. We'll go ahead and we'll
get to really see God of War Ragnarok. That's kind of
they did.
That's a big deal.
There was one thing I feel I was a little bummed about. So they showed a lot of the PSVR 2 stuff for like Resident Evil, things that are good.
Yeah. Resident Evil Village in VR sounds like a terrible idea. I don't know who wants that, but
okay, that one. Oh, that one. Dear listener, if you want to contribute to a Patreon where we get a headset and put Caleb playing that game and record it and put it on our YouTube channel, oh my goodness,
guys, that would be amazing.
If you want to buy me a PS5 and a PSVR 2, sure.
No, you got some VR. Put it on your
put on your
computer.
Oculus. The Oculus isn't going to run Resident Evil 8. Are you kidding?
You never know.
No, that thing has a glorified Android phone processor in it. It's not going to fly.
You can plug it into your computer.
Yes, I could plug it into my computer. I suppose that's true.
Just saying. Anyway, moving on. So let's go ahead and we're going to move on over to Xbox. So they had two shows. They had the ID at Xbox as well as the Tokyo Game Show. At the ID of Xbox, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of talk about games that are coming. The Amazing Cultivation Simulator, that's coming to PC September 14th. You Suck at Parking, coming to all platforms September 14th. Metal Hellsinger, all platforms on September 15th. Moon Scars on the 27th. So Valheim, this one's coming to the PC on the 29th of this year, but Valheim for the consoles and cloud gaming will be spring of 23. So that'll come later on there. So Evil on all platforms October 11th. The Big Con for the consoles. It says it doesn't actually have a date on there. That's weird. Sorry about that. Assuming this year, it does say 2022. We'll just leave it at that. The Walking Dead Telltale series, the final season. That's going to come in 2022 later. Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan on the consoles, as well, coming out this year. Born of Bread, that is also coming out 2023. Homestead Arcana, 2023. And Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, 2023. Those are all the ID at Xbox, the independent developers. If you want to check those games out, you can check out any of them just on YouTube or anything. Let's go ahead and let's move on here. Go to the Xbox Tokyo Game Show. I'm going to go ahead and go through quite a few of these. A lot of these games are actually games that either A, have already come out, or B, will be coming out, that are just finally hitting the Xbox platform. Persona 5 Royale. Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Exoprimal. Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle Special Edition. Guilty Gear. I think I say this correctly. Naraka Blade Point. Yushan Ruins. Ni no Kuni. Oh man, this one's different. Danganronpa. That's so well. I don't know how to
see
say
why
that
this
one.
was at the Tokyo Game Show.
Yes,
That's
so a lot of these games were
these
there.
are all Japanese games.
Yep. Well, not everything. We'll get to that. A Euden Chronicles, Dyson Sphere Program, Pal World, and then after the Japanese focused ones, they actually had an Overwatch 2 new hero that is Kiriko. They had a new hero that they wanted to release. That'll be coming out October 4th.
Also Japanese, actually.
Also, yep. That's the Japanese hero, so that's why they probably,
yeah.
Did that. They also wanted to talk about, I guess, Forza Horizon 10's 10th year anniversary. So lots of things coming there. New story, soundtracks, cars, things like that. They did announce that the Assassin's Creed Odyssey is going to hit Xbox Game Pass.
Oh, okay.
And Deathloop. This had already been released, was the exclusive. It's been a whole year. Can you believe that?
Wow. I kind of want to play this, though, actually. So, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's been a whole year. It says that it will be on Xbox Game Pass on September 20th. So you can actually pre-install it today if you really wanted to. So,
yeah.
So lots of games that have been happening here. So exciting. That's really cool. While there, Phil Spencer did talk quite a bit. People were asking him questions about certain exclusives. The big one, obviously, was the Final Fantasy, The Realm Reborn. That's the big MMO game that's on PlayStation and PC. He said that they're working on actually bringing it to Xbox, too. So, cool. Big old MMO that's actually cross-play on almost everything. I think that's a first. I think. I don't know. There might be some random MMO somewhere that's...
I was going to say, Genshin Impact, I think, might actually be...
Is it? Okay.
Everything.
Then I was wrong on that one.
And Genshin Impact is also on mobile phones, so that says
well, there you go.
About how that's going to work. Actually, Black Desert Online might also be cross everything. Geez, I don't know. It's some of these random Japanese MMOs, like they might be. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yep. So overall, lots of games, lots of good news. If any of that you want to take a look at that I was mentioning, take a look. There are a lot of cool trailers, a lot of cool looking stuff that I've not ever dealt or dived into. So I didn't have a lot to say. Like I said, other than that double GoldenEye 007, little bit of Nintendo there, a little bit of stuff with that. So yeah, that's really all of the news that I have. That's gaming news. Caleb, you got anything you want to talk about that's in gaming?
I do. So this is a very interesting piece of news, listener, that may or may not directly affect you, but it is going to mark a huge paradigm shift in the graphics card industry. So this past week actually saw a couple of very important things happen for the graphics card industry. For instance, the swap, the change, the switch on the Ethereum crypto coin stack has happened. They transitioned from proof of work. Yeah, proof of work, where you had to have graphics card horsepower churning through calculations in order to generate Ethereum coin, as in graphics mining, right? This is cryptocurrency mining. They switched from that to a proof of stake, which means you have to have coin to generate coin. And graphics cards do nothing, which means that all of those giant farms of GPU miners that were mining Ethereum suddenly had a whack ton of graphics cards and nothing to do with them. And
oh boy,
in that circumstance, you obviously don't want to keep running them because it's just wasting electricity. Literally thousands of dollars of electricity per day in some of these big cases. And Ethereum was the final cryptocurrency that was profitable to mine using a GPU. Bitcoin stopped being profitable for GPUs years ago. You have to have dedicated ASICs in order to mine Bitcoin at this point. Graphics cards do nothing for you. They're just not even close to profitable. It costs way more to power them than you would ever get in returns for the Bitcoin. En masse, these folks switched over to a bunch of other cryptocurrencies to try and mine them and make money on them. And the profitability of every single one of obviously profitability of these things is directly tied to how many GPUs are mining them all at once. And so profitability of these coins, as all of the miners showed up, tanked, and they couldn't make money. It was in the best case scenarios, you were losing a penny per hour or something like that. So it was, you weren't even breaking even. You were slowly losing money if you tried to mine them. And it looks an awful lot like the vast majority of these miners are shutting down their farms, which means that those graphics cards are going to be flooding the market, which means that already reasonable prices on used graphics cards compared to the past 2 years especially are going to go lower. And this is just before AMD and Nvidia are set to announce their new GPUs. So sucks to be them. I don't feel bad. Anyways,
right? That's going to be awesome.
I have no sympathy for them.
Also,
So that
probably
happened.
don't buy one of these GPUs.
You know what? Actually, it depends. That there is a big old "it depends" flag on that, because in some cases you're going to get a GPU that was overworked, undercooled, and possibly was designed specifically for mining and may not actually have display outputs on it and stuff like that. So very, very be careful about it. However, if you get one of the GPUs that was responsibly managed, typically these folks had their GPUs in very nicely clean, climate-controlled environments, and they had the graphics cards clocked down. They had them detuned in order to use less energy, but still have the hash rate that they wanted out of them for maximum profitability. So if you can find one of those, they're probably fine. What you would probably want to do is get the card, take the cooler off, reapply the thermal paste, put the cooler back on, possibly change the fans. Because the thing that's going to wear out on a GPU in a circumstance like that is the fans. They were running 24/7 for probably a year or two.
Yep.
You might want to change the fans. That'll be the first thing to fail. But honestly, I'm going to let you in on a secret, listener. You can just take the stock fans off of a GPU and go buy a couple of Noctua fans and zip tie them onto this fin stack, and that's fine. You can just do that, plug it into the power supply or into your motherboard and control this fan speed manually. It's fine. It'll keep the GPU nice and cool. No problems. So yes, be careful about the used GPUs you're buying right now, because the vast majority of them are probably coming from miners. However, if you are cognizant about what it is you're looking at, double check, make sure that the thing doesn't look like it's covered in dust. Make sure that, you're buying a used working part, not a four parts device. That's important. Make sure that the thing actually has physical display ports on it. You can see, that's an HDMI port and that's a display port or whatever, make sure you can see those things. So be smart about how you buy these things. But if you're paying attention to stuff like that, this might be a very good way to get a cheap GPU. Now, all of this happened at the same time as EVGA announcing a split with Nvidia. So, listener, if you're not familiar with who EVGA are, they are an add-in board partner for Nvidia, meaning that they take Nvidia's GPUs, the silicon produced by Nvidia, they design boards to put it on and fans to cool those boards, and they sell it to you as a completed graphics card. EVGA is the largest seller of Nvidia graphics cards in the world. Yeah, they're obviously not the only ones, not by any stretch of the imagination, but they sell the most, and to a lot of people in the community, they're highly regarded as typically the makers of the best GPUs that you can get, the best NVIDIA GPUs you can buy. Now, they don't sell AMD GPUs or Intel GPUs. They do sell some motherboards and power supplies, but honestly, not much else.
Yeah.
80% of their revenue last year was Nvidia GPUs. Now, this selling GPUs is a notoriously low profit margin category for the add-in board partners. So obviously that's not 80% of their profit that was last year. It was probably less than half of their profit, honestly, because it is notoriously difficult to actually make a profit in this market. But that is 80% of the revenue. That is a big deal. So the CEO of EVGA met with Gamers Nexus YouTube channel and Jay's 2 Cents on YouTube to talk this over. They said, in essence, that it was over mistreatment by Nvidia. Nvidia was just being a terrible partner to work with, and they were sick of it. And they're like, nope, we're done. We are not selling your cards. This means no 40 series cards from EVGA. It means that they're done making 30 series cards, and they expect to sell through their existing inventory of them before the end of the year. They are holding back some of their inventory to make sure that they can take care of RMAs and returns and stuff like that, so they can continue supporting their customers of their existing 30 series GPUs. But once that's done, they're done. They're not doing it. He also said they currently do not have any plans to start working with AMD or Intel to sell ARC GPUs or Radeon GPUs. However, that's not necessarily off the table at this point. That he also said they don't plan on entering any new product categories, which is, again, bizarre because that's a huge chunk of their revenue. And so when you hear 80% of their revenue lost and we're not going to pick up a new client or a partner, we're not going to enter any new product categories, you think to yourself, massive layoffs. Just massive layoffs.
Yeah.
Apparently not. He has said they have no plans to lay off anybody at all currently. There were some layoffs that happened in Taiwan in some of their development places earlier this year that may have been related to this, but nobody's sure. He didn't say whether or not they were. But those layoffs happened earlier this year, and that's it. Apparently they have no plans to lay anybody else off. They're going to reallocate their graphics card team to other parts of the company, and it's entirely possible they're just going to keep paying some of these people even though they don't have anything to do. It's like, hey, here's your paycheck. Thanks for sitting around. Like, this is just a really weird place for EVGA to be in right now, and you don't often hear about a large company making a decision like this that puts their employees into a position like this, which means that, holy snot, what did Nvidia do to them?
Seriously.
Like, good night. So yeah, the fact that this is landing just before Nvidia is about to launch new graphics cards, and the market is about to be flooded by used graphics cards just before Nvidia is about to launch their new graphics cards, I think it's safe to say Nvidia is going to have a pretty crappy fiscal year compared to their last few. So if you are invested in Nvidia right now, listener, don't take investment advice from me. That's the end of that sentence. I just wanted to make that clear. But yes, that's my gaming news. Honestly, gamers rejoice. There's a whack ton of graphics cards coming your way. If you want an EVGA one, you have to buy it used.
Yeah, seriously. Dang, I didn't realize. So I heard about them not doing graphics cards, but I didn't hear about why. Like, that's crazy. I mean, and there's not a lot of detail about why. It's basically just like, Nvidia are jerks, so we're not working with them anymore. And I'm like, ow. I mean, I knew Nvidia were jerks. Like, the pricing strategy surrounding their past couple of years of graphics cards made it pretty clear that Nvidia are jerks, but jeez. Crazy. Well, I think that's the end of the episode, unless Landon has one more thing.
Nope,
he doesn't. Okay. Well, dear listener, we appreciate you listening all the way to the end of the episode. Hey, if you wanted to support us, you can get support us on our Patreon, like we were toting a little earlier. If you want to see Caleb, run through some VR, some horror, Resident Evil VR,
or if you want Landon to have a Switch so we can play GoldenEye.
That too. I mean, we'll do anything. Slappers, rocket launchers, whatever. That'd be so fun to tinker around with.
Golden gun only.
Golden gun only. Geez. Golden gun only. All odd job. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Terrible. Anyway, if you want to get a hold of us, you can at callingallplatforms.com. You can also get on our social media platforms. If you want to check out a brand new video that Spend Love uploaded on our YouTube channel. You can, calling all platforms.
I'm just going to point out that video is just a continuation of the rant that I had earlier in this podcast, which is a continuation of the rant from last week's podcast. It's all connected. We're like the Marvel Cinematic Universe in here. It's all connected.
It's all connected. There it is. And at the end, he's going to have some stones, snap his fingers, and voila.
And
all right, dear
14
listener.
will be dead. Oh, no, this actually works out perfectly because then you can cut the 14 Pro out of the mixture because it'll take half of it away. There you go. That works. I like it.
Yep. If I could snap my fingers and get rid of half of the iPhone line right now, let me tell you, I would.
There'd be some upset people. All right, dear listener. Have a good week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Calling All Platforms is a production of Supporter Sound Studios. To learn more about how you can support the podcast, go to www.patreon.com/callingallplatforms.